You can't argue for more money now, but Caitlyn can. You guys have been in the league for a long time. And the main reason that revenue has been generated is because of Caitlyn Clark. For this reason, I firmly believe that Caitlyn Clark shouldn't even assist these women in receiving compensation. A portion of me doesn't even think she should assist them in being compensated because of things like this. Bro. No yelling came from Caitlyn Clark. She refrained from ranting. Not even names were mentioned by her. However, with just she embarrassed? Kelsey Plum in front of the entire sports world with just 6 words in a single Instagram comment. I honestly believe that it's not. Kelsey Plum's statement was simply not wise. I'm positive that she's joking. I don't believe this is done with malice. Not only that, but I'm very sure this isn't done with malice. It's just an extremely awful joke, in my opinion. It's a joke that comes off the wrong way, but not particularly horrible. How did one sentence change the WNBA drama, and what were those 6 words entirely upside down? Let's dissect it. Now that the WNBA All-Star Weekend is officially over, no one is discussing anything pertaining to basketball. Sabrina is putting on a show, but no one is discussing the 3-point competition. Nothing happened during the 4 or 5 days that Sabrina faced Steph Curry head-to-head. Come on Monday. No skills challenge. Not even a New York Liberty sweep. In the All-Star game, Team Collier defeated Team Clark. Nothing at all. Surprise! Surprise! The WNBA controversy is the only topic being discussed. The WNBA drama, I guess. Rather than the basketball, that's only for Caitlyn Clark. The WNBA All-Star Game was where it all began. It's a time to bring players together around the important theme of equal pay. I am in favor of people requesting raises. Let me begin by saying that. I don't mind the WNBA at all. Players requesting a pay increase. The WNBA is having a lot of success right now. I don't give a damn about the last 24 or 25 years. It's beginning to pay off as an investment, I guess. Made a statement this week by wearing t-shirts that read, "You better pay us." However, Kelsey Plum, O for LA, had to make fun of Caitlyn Clark rather than simply leave it at that. It was intended to highlight togetherness, and players donned shirts that stated, "Pay us what you owe us." Kelsey Plum, however, had different plans. She made a vague reference to Clark during a press conference after the game, but she didn't even mention his name. She paused, smirked, and dropped not to be a snitch, but there were no Team Clark members around. It was an extremely potent moment. Well, as gamers at least, we were unaware that that would occur. The t-shirt only united front was decided this morning, for which we had a meeting. So I think it was somewhat of a real surprise. Additionally, none of the members of Team Clark were present for that. Not to be a snitch, it only required that. It was a premeditated attempt to portray Caitlyn Clark, the rookie phenom that everyone was watching, as self-centered, disloyal, and distant. It was a subtle jab and a public dig. However, Plum was unaware that the clock was ticking on her own. Public humiliation the instant she took that shot. Every day, these WNBA players get more and more unlikable. Additionally, it's pretty clear that Caitlyn Clark is the target of apparent jealousy and animosity. They make no effort to conceal it. Kelsey Plum spoke to us about the pitiful clothes they wore while playing. And I'll tell you, in a few earlier films, these players all wore these shirts. And as I mentioned earlier, it didn't work out. The number of people already watching Caitlyn Clark may have been overestimated by Kelsey Plum. The fact that she wasn't even playing meant that Clark wasn't present at the meeting. She remained in her hometown of Indianapolis to recuperate after being disqualified from the All-Star game. Who the hell cares now? They mention her whenever they can. Team Clark was the name of the team. They didn't all appear. They did not attend the conference. What prevented them from attending the meeting? Because at 10 a.m., Nakumai was basically rushing about making calls. M dragging in joy, knocking on people's doors and saying, "We have a meeting now. We have a meeting now." She had a secret that they held an impromptu meeting at 10 a.m. that no one knew about. It's not something that was important, like the players were still going to wear those t-shirts, which was the main idea of the meeting. Caitlyn was one of the players on Team Clark that donned the t-shirts. What difference does it make, for example? Thus, Clark was not exposed by Plum's jab. It revealed her own petty nature. At the press conference, Sabrina Ionescu, who was seated next to Plum, immediately tensed up. However, we were simply, we had a very well. There was something that had to be spoken. I'm attempting to lighten the situation. All right. However, I believe it was simply a matter of us all aligning with the game. Fans could tell everything about her from her body language. There was no unity in this front. The attack was targeted. When Sabrina stated that for the first time, you saw her face. Sabrina appeared irritated and furious. Why would you say that? For example, why would you say that? Like, man, come on, check out this post. It's insane to take a shot like this at the player who is the only reason you can demand more money. And it's true. That is simply a fact. Bro, take a look at Sabrina's face. Ski says, yo, what are you doing? What are you doing, chick? What are you doing? Even NBA veterans Charles Barkley and Stacey King raised their voices. Why are you disparaging the one player who is increasing everyone's income? You are all petty girls. Men should be petty, in my opinion. We are the world's most insecure group. Yes, you are. You should give that girl kudos for securing private charters for you all. All of the money and attention she is giving the WNBA. Avoid becoming as petty as men. Take a look at what she has done. Give her her bouquet. Give up your petty behavior. All of you women, she got charters for you all. She is bringing this money to the table for all of you. But you guys are being petty. LeBron, you're absolutely correct. Stop being so petty, females. Thank you for bringing so much money and brightness to the WNBA. Kayla Clark, they will be hostile. When fans concurred, the internet exploded. In interviews, Caitlyn didn't defend herself. She didn't subtweet. She took a far more potent action. She and Kelsey Plum went to a Nike event a few days later. The twist. Caitlyn is an athlete for Nike. Under Armour signed Kelsey. Clark responded to Plum's joyful Instagram snap from the Nike event with 6 cold comments. I appreciate the Nike advertisement. Come to tell you now, buddy. Now, that seemed like a slight jab at Caitlyn to me. Many individuals undoubtedly believed that. We now know that Caitlyn Clark is an athlete for Nike. She works for Nike. Who had to show up for the Nike party, you ask? That would be Sabrina Ionescu. I'm referring to Kelsey Plum. I'm sorry, everyone. That would be Kelsey Plum, dude. Kayla Clark left a remark on her photo. I appreciate the Nike advertisement. What a weekend. That's all that was stated by CCAKG Kayla Clark on Kelsey Plum's Instagram. Kelsey is an under Armour athlete. Simply a cool, ruthless mic drop, no hostility, no justification. The fans went crazy. Thousands of people liked and responded to the message, which quickly went viral. Everyone understood her meaning. You ended up elevating me while attempting to discredit me. At that point, Kelsey Plum received shamed in public with a single sentence. 5,000 likes. And it's crazy, man, because as I mentioned, there are people on Twitter who are discussing 63 likes. No player, no player. We have about 5,072 responses. Dude, indeed. Indeed, my friend. Additionally, I believe Kelsey Plum responded to this. No, she didn't. No response came from Kelsey Plum. C certainly retaliated. Dude. Thus, Kelsey Plum remained silent. How could she respond? She had attempted to make the All-Star stage a success. However, without even playing, Caitlyn Clark took control of the entire weekend by remaining silent and graceful. Clark was flooded with brands. Her power move became the focus of media attention. Plum, meanwhile, was portrayed on social media as petty, envious, and bitter. And the more profound reality began to show itself. It wasn't a single insignificant incident, it was a sign of something more serious. However, why do you try to win the golden goose, Clark, Caitlyn? Prior to her arrival, you two were traveling on one of those airlines that charge for a cup of water. One airline is the one whose aircraft have the color of a highlighter. You're flying in private now. Don't discuss your problems with others, okay? You moved to a 4 seasons from a Motel 6 in a dubious area of town. In the retail area, put an end to your conversation. Caitlyn Clark's quick ascent has several WNBA veterans uneasy. In contrast to others, she has earned the sponsors, the airtime, the fans, the jersey sales, and yes, the attention. Okay, what does that signify? The league was founded by Caitlyn Clark. She may now fight for more money, but you can't, Caitlyn. You've been in the league for a long time, and the reason for the revenue generation is Caitlyn Clark's main point is that you can't make more money if you're not producing anything. You did make money this year? Ma'am, you owe the NBA money, so you can just lose and not give them anything in return. To be honest, the first 20 years and the first 10 years of your profitability should go to the NBA. She gets hurt. So you can't just say, I've been wasting your money for 20 years and now I'm finally making a profitable year because of one player. Doesn't anyone watch it anymore? She sold out venues, increased expansion fees from $50 million to $250 million, attracted record-breaking viewership, and continues to perform despite extreme pressure. Plum was making fun of the league's very future when she took that shot. Not just a teammate, and that future now surpasses her. In addition to humiliating Plum, Clark's 6-word retort revealed the politics, jealousy, and fissures that were growing beneath the WNBA's facade of solidarity. And without ever raising her voice, Caitlyn Clark degraded Kelsey Plum in this way. One response, 6 words, and a lasting change in power. To demonstrate your support, leave a quiet power comment in the comments section if you're still watching. Caitlyn Clark appears on a live episode of A Touch More with Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe during All-Star Weekend. Let's also mention that Caitlyn Clark isn't shy about sharing her opinions. I hope the WNBA as a whole was paying attention. Based on the interview's platform, I can be certain that WNBA dump divers were paying attention. Additionally, I am positive that ordinary folks were not paying attention because ordinary people are indifferent. Not even a basketball was necessary for Caitlyn Clark to shock the world. Clark didn't hold back when she went live with Sue Bird at WNBA All-Star Weekend, which was her most audacious moment to date. You have to do is whisper. Why did they all say it that way? In reality, what were you saying? Don't lie to us. Please. This was Clark at her best, unvarnished, and it altered everything from calling out fake news reports to taking credit for her popular meme moment to hurling sarcastic jabs at her own coach. However, what specifically did she say that surprised everyone and resulted in gunfire at her detractors and turned the whole media story on its head? Let's dissect it. She does appear on a live taping of a Touch More podcast, which is Sue Bird and Megan Rapinoe's program. Kay? I mentioned this in a couple of previous videos. Kay mockingly announced her as the favorite of every referee by playing the soundtrack that the former Bulls would walk out to in a very dramatic fashion. The tone for the remainder of the podcast was thus somewhat established by that. Additionally, the entire experience provided us a hug-inside information about some of Clark's more well-known incidents and what was going through her mind. Because the world pays attention when Caitlyn Clark talks from the heart. Let's set the scene first. A bit more was packed into Sue Bird's live podcast. There was a stir among the fans. After being passed over for the All-Star game, Caitlyn Clark took center stage as the hometown hero of Indiana. Coming from a couple states away, she will wash it and like a delicious cheese. take a swig to get it down. She enjoys playing golf. At Crooked Stick, playing Scrabble, and attending outdoor concerts at the Ruoff. Every referee loves her, because she is a boss. She also dresses like a CEO. Caitlin Clark, welcome to the show. Come on, applause, music, and you could sense it. As soon as she picked up the microphone, this wasn't a PR-safe situation. Caitlin was let loose with this. She wasn't trying to be kind. She was present to correct the record, and she did precisely that. I'm hoping the WNBA players were paying attention, perhaps for the first time in my life. The WNBA players need to hear the wisdom that Waterloo's Rue shared yesterday, so I hope they have their ears open and their mouths shut. Let's begin with the WNBA's most well-known shot. One of the more absurd headline-grabbing stories that Caitlin Clark rejected the NBA three-point competition because she didn't want to shoot was directly targeted by Clark from Iraq. Her reply was famous, sardonic, and deadly. Whoever wrote the piece, I'm not sure, probably didn't feel very good about themselves after I did it. It was a rumor, falsehood, or whatever you want to call it, and it was so stupid that you turned it down because you didn't want to shoot off Iraq. What is it like? It's beyond me where these folks get their ideas from. Actually, though, I'm intrigued. Finally, you realize that it doesn't always happen, even with microphones on our faces. We have a podcast. Yes, you don't always have the chance to say, no, that was a lie. Additionally, they should be fact-checked and called out. It must have been nice. Yes, that felt good. Whoever wrote the piece, I'm not sure, probably didn't feel very good about themselves after I did it. They didn't have a source, but I'm not sure who it was, and whoever it was incorrect. I suppose I didn't possess a source. Yes, perhaps I would rather fire off a pass and catch off like a catch. But that's what any basketball player would say, and it's a three-point contest. Everyone takes off from Iraq. That's the way it is. She blatantly referred to it as a falsehood, said that the media had made it up, and she verified it live while grinning and without hesitation. One thing became evident in that moment. The false tales don't appeal to Caitlin Clark. She is tired of complying with fans and the media circus. Even worse is when people use comments from strangers on social media to form their own opinions about themselves. Social media is a myth. On Twitter, people will say things that they would never say in person. I enjoyed every moment of it. When Sue Bird mentioned Clark's now iconic performance against the New York Liberty, wasn't even the spiciest portion. The one where she lit it up from deep, you know? Caitlin failed to hold back. In a lighthearted manner, she described how she finds her groove. I'm likely to launch a third if I hit 2 consecutive hits. Maybe not advised by the coach, but I gotta get it up. The 33 threes in the most recent New York Liberty game were like heaters. In fact, I believe the Liberty game to be a greater illustration. Could you just tell us? The response I received to this question wasn't quite the same as the one asking what it's like to be in the zone, but rather when you're feeling due. You know what's going on for those who will never experience this heat or its approach? Could you tell us what I used to say at the beginning of every college game? I felt like I was on a heater. As a shooter, I would say that in a more professional sense. For example, in that Liberty game, I felt that when you see 2 or 3 go in, I'm likely to launch a third, which may not be something a chef would advise, but I have to get it up. If the third one enters, it's as if you're simply attractive. As a shooter, your confidence, in my opinion, just keeps growing. It's simply slipping out of your hand more easily. The rim appears large. The coach did not advise it. Her own head. Coach Stephanie White was the target of that subtle, clever attack. The crowd burst out. It wasn't said maliciously by Clark. She spoke with assurance, poise, and swagger. That's how you keep the room on your side and throw shade. Additionally, it revealed the rising tension between coach and athlete. Whether she meant it as a joke or not, all season long, a narrative has been simmering beneath the surface. You guys, this Caitlin Clark versus Stephanie White situation has. the potential to get ugly quickly. I must be honest with all of you. Caitlin Clark wants to play one way, but Stephanie White wants to play the complete opposite. This is where Clark completely changes the course of events. Caitlin Clark, do? You think you know her? Rethink your thought. She talked candidly about being misinterpreted, how the world witnesses her ferocity on the court, but it fails to notice the humorous side of it. I'm just comic relief in the locker room, and people don't realize it. On the floor, she is a fireball, but off it, she keeps things lighthearted by making jokes and giggling at memes in the group chat. Indeed, she talked about the widely shared face-off moment with Ryan Howard of Atlanta. The freeze frame that became a full-fledged meme. That's Goofy you're referring to. Caitlin is silly. There seems to be a new meme of me doing something in every game. This one is excellent. I have no idea what took place. Really? Neither do I. What kind of game is this? I don't know. Atlanta? You were the target of Ryan Howard's brutal treatment. Oh, I said. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. I'm not. Afraid of you, you say? Yes, indeed, I said that. Not afraid of you at all. Who are you? Yes, say that. It was so much, I know. I considered myself tough, but now this issue, I appear. To be honest, you don't look your best in the freeze frame. It's not fair, you know? I didn't look like that in real life, did I? In real life, you weren't that gippy. This is excellent. I'm right here. You said, let's _go. In real time. This is my entire face. My hair is a complete mess. I was just struck. Yes, the pony still wasn't fixed by you. No, I had. Like a pro, Clark laughed it off. You don't scare me. Who are you? It was more than just self-conscious. It was amusing. She also claimed that her ponytail was all messed up and burnt her own hair. The WNBA is in dire need of more people with that kind of personality. However, this interview was more than simply lighthearted banter. Clark dug deep. She discussed how social media presents a distorted image of herself and how she maintains her composure by concentrating on the true fans, not the ones hiding behind Twitter accounts, are the young children in the stands. You realize how many people genuinely support you when you go to arenas? In my opinion, you must first keep in mind that social media is merely a distorted representation of reality. You don't always recognize that sometimes it's not the real world, even for me. Even if you're in a situation where people will either love you or dislike you, you know? However, I believe that when I arrive at arenas are the places where I am most reminded of how many people are actually there to support and love you, similar to the young girls and boys. These are the people who care about every choice you make and every remark you make on social media. At the same time, though, I feel like I simply try to be myself every day, approach things that way, and be who I really am. What sets Caitlin apart is her vulnerability and honesty. She is a human being, not a brand, and she doesn't hesitate to express it. Let's discuss that incident involving Taylor Swift. If you recall the widely shared video of Clark whispering in Taylor's ear during a Chiefs playoff game, there were a ton of theories on the internet. Well, it was clarified by Clark. All she was doing was describing a penalty flag. To be honest, all I was doing was explaining to her why they tossed a flag. It was straightforward, sweet, and completely typical, which is what made it so wonderful. To be honest, I'm rather knowledgeable about football, and I adore it. I was explaining to her why they threw a flag, but in the most effective manner. I was just explaining stuff because she doesn't know much about it, and I don't even know everything. But it was enjoyable. Since Caitlin Clark makes headlines out even the most mundane events, I'm a huge Chiefs fan. She is one of the few athletes who can effortlessly blend pop culture with athletics, and she does it with complete poise. Clark is enjoying every odd, humorous, and fantastical aspect of her ascent. From performing in front of packed arenas to being carved out of butter at the Iowa State Fair, She even gushed like a Jordan about her white Nike soccer cleats from high school. "My rival high school was that one. We therefore performed at state. The Nike cleat is yours. My cleats seemed so terrible to me. Every one of them was white. Like, absolutely. Yes, I adored soccer cleats. The same is true of basketball sneakers." She is that person, self-assured on the court, unrestrained on the microphone. And utterly Iowa. To be clear, though, this was more than simply a fun sit-down. It was a declaration. Clark no longer merely shows up for interviews. She is in charge of the space, pointing out lies, questioning authority, and giggling at the commotion. She represents more than simply women's basketball. Her voice is becoming its most potent one. This interview demonstrated. She is not here to be controlled, shaped, or silenced. Her name is Caitlin Clark, and she is just beginning her career. To show your appreciation for Caitlin's candor, leave a comment with Clark Unfiltered if you're still watching. Which aspect of this interview was your favorite? Click the next button, hit the like button, and subscribe for more video displayed on the screen, since you won't want to overlook Clark's subsequent actions.